The movie begins with Tae-sok, a professional Baduk Go player, who participates in a high-stakes underground match. However, Tae-sok ends up losing the game. His older brother, Mun-sok, who is present at the scene, approaches him afterward. Sensing an opportunity, he persuades Tae-sok to play another match on his behalf, promising rich rewards, but warning that the stakes are dangerously high. Translation: you'll either get rich or get buried. At first, Tae-sok refuses, wary of the risks involved. Yet, under his brother's insistence, he reluctantly agrees. The men drive to a secluded location Tae-sok does not recognize. Upon arrival, Mun-sok leaves him behind, and Tae-sok is introduced to a driver named Trick. Trick's role is not just transportation. He discreetly assists Tae-sok's brother by relaying moves via a transmitter connected to an earpiece hidden in his brother's ear. As the game progresses, Sal-soo, the intimidating underground player facing Tae-sok's brother, grows suspicious. The opponent notices that the moves being made are far from conventional and increasingly erratic. Sal-soo even offers to strip off his clothes to prove his innocence, making an offhanded comment about not liking summer. When the game gets hot, some people take it way too literally. In response, Tae-sok's brother awkwardly jokes that he prefers cold weather. Their strange behavior heightens Sal-soo's suspicions. It soon becomes clear that Sal-soo is not playing on his own either. He is being covertly guided by an old Go master named Wong. While the game is overseen by the Lord, the ruthless kingpin who controls the illegal gambling dens. Observing the uneven match, the Lord switches Sal-soo's helper, replacing the old master with a young girl known as Bae Cobb, who is said to possess rare Go talent. Meanwhile, disaster strikes on Tae-sok's side. Trick, suffering from sudden intestinal problems, rushes to a nearby alley, leaving Tae-sok's brother without support. When nature calls, even underground masterminds have to put games on hold. Communication between Trick and the player completely breaks down due to worsening weather conditions, leading to static interference. Turns out the real villain was bad Wi-Fi. Panicked, Tae-sok's brother makes a fatal move that causes him to lose the game. Suddenly, a thug approaches Trick's abandoned car, drags Tae-sok out, and forces him inside the building where the underground match is taking place. Trick, powerless to intervene, watches helplessly. Inside the hall, Tae-sok witnesses a horrifying scene. His brother is stripped and humiliated by the gangsters. It turns out they had discovered the hidden transmitter. Begging for mercy, his brother's pleas fall on deaf ears. Worse still, it is revealed that he had brought counterfeit money as a stake, enraging the villains even further. One of the thugs mockingly slaps Tae-sok's brother and, in an act of brutality, stuffs the fake money into his mouth before savagely beating him with a cudgel. The Lord then escalates the humiliation, ordering Tae-sok's brother to eat the ghost stones under the threat of death. Turning to Tae-sok, the Lord offers a grim deal. If Tae-sok can defeat him in a Go match, both he and his brother would be allowed to live. Weeping, Tae-sok sits down at the board. However, in his emotional turmoil and inexperience with such high-pressure underground matches, he quickly loses. Furious, the Lord stabs Tae-sok's brother to death, and then frames Tae-sok by putting the bloody knife into his hands. Plot twist: the high stakes weren't metaphorical. Time passes and Tae-sok is now imprisoned in the prison yard. Warden Park, nicknamed Big Bear, attempts to beat an elderly inmate who was once a respected prison authority figure. Tae-sok witnesses the exchange. The elder inmate tries to bribe Warden Park with a large check in exchange for a day off, but the warden contemptuously refuses, sensing the man's loss of influence. Even corrupt wardens have standards. Who knew? Inside the prison cell, the elderly inmate broods over his lost match, struggling to understand where he went wrong. Tae-sok, observing quietly, makes a subtle remark. Realizing Tae-sok's insight, the elder quickly understands that this young man is a skilled Baduk player. Impressed, he offers Tae-sok a proposal to challenge and defeat the prison boss in exchange for favor. Tae-sok accepts the challenge. As a wager, he places the check offered by the elder inmate on the line. If Tae-sok wins, he asks to be released from forced labor duty. They begin the match. Calm and calculated, Tae-sok defeats the boss, infuriating him. Tae-sok won, prison boss's ego shattered. In retaliation, the prison boss throws Tae-sok into the punishment cell. While in solitary confinement, Tae-sok finds a curious note hidden inside his food tray. It challenges him to a game of Baduk. Moments later, there's a knock on the cell wall. Intrigued, Tae-sok accepts and scratches a makeshift Go board onto the cell wall, playing move after move with his unseen neighbor. Yet, no matter how hard he tries, Tae-sok loses every game. Frustrated, Tae-sok pleads to know his opponent's name. In response, he finds another note, a simple message thanking him for the games and advising him to find a man named Drinking Christ at Guangzhou when he goes out. After being released from solitary confinement, Taesok asks the elder authority figure to teach him how to fight. The elder's underlings take Taesok under their wing, training him relentlessly in martial arts. Now, Taesok divides his days between honing his Go skills and learning how to defend himself. His transformation is steady but remarkable. Soon, he can easily defeat several opponents in combat. Grateful, Taesok bows and thanks his mentor. The day finally comes when Taesok's protector is released from prison. Before leaving, he invites Taesok to join his team outside. Taesok in turn asks for a loan, hoping to survive in the brutal world without his mentor's protection. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the criminal underworld, a prodigious girl is brought before the lord of the underground gaming club. She is challenged to solve a notoriously difficult Go problem. If she succeeds, she will be rewarded handsomely. Calmly and effortlessly, the girl solves the puzzle. Her handler names an exorbitant price for her talents. The lord, impressed, pays without hesitation and takes custody of her. However, once the lord leaves, the girl's original handler dispatches assassins to kill the lord's men and reclaim the girl. Anticipating betrayal, the lord ambushes and slaughters the would-be murderers. In another Baduk club, Bae Cobb, now more confident, beats a visiting player. The club's gray-haired master mocks her, but Bae Cobb retorts with a stinging insult, earning the master's grudging respect. Pleased, the lord entrusts with her even greater responsibility, to take care of the little intelligent girl. After serving his 7-year sentence, Taesok returns to the home of his late brother. There, he learns that his young nephew, now orphaned, is being cared for by their elderly grandmother. Promising to return soon, Taesok heads straight to a familiar Bado club. Tracking down one of the thugs, Atari, who had once counted slaps across his face, Taesok challenges him to a Baduk match under the guise of being a clumsy amateur. Taesok loses deliberately at first, but then offers a rematch, proposing that the loser accept 10 finger flicks as punishment. Mocking him, Atari agrees, but after one flick, he realizes the immense pain and refuses to endure more. Enraged, he pulls a knife. Taesok quickly disarms him, ties him to a pillar, and beats him with flicks until the thug recognizes Taesok as the boy he once brutalized. With a final devastating flick, Taesok blinds the thug, seeking poetic justice. Revenge served flicking cold. Meanwhile, Trick, now also resurfaced, is caught cheating in a Bado game. As he flees, Taesok intervenes, remembering their past friendship and his brother's trust. Taesok invites Trick to join him on a mission, to hunt down and destroy the killers who ruin their lives. Hearing about the reward, Trick agrees without hesitation. Following the clue left by the mysterious prison neighbor, they seek out Drinking Christ. They eventually find the legendary player on the streets. To their amazement, they discover that the man, also called God Hand, is blind. Yet he plays with near supernatural ability, memorizing entire games in his mind. Blind and unbeatable? Someone called Daredevil for a crossover. Taesok humbly asks for training. Although he loses match after match, he is determined. They invite Godhand to a nearby cafe where, over alcohol, Taesok learns that Godhand also suffered at the hands of the Lord's gang. Initially refusing, Godhand eventually agrees to help. Together, they track down an old teammate of the blind old master, now working as a carpenter, a man who lost his arm in a brutal match orchestrated by the Lord. Despite his injuries, the carpenter agrees to join Taesok's growing team. Sometime later, Taesok goes to the Bado club owned by Salsu, who is referred to as the Lord. In the club's secret rooms, the winnings amount to millions, and it is extremely difficult to gain access to such high-stakes games. Only the strongest and most reputable players are allowed to compete against Salsu himself. Taesok plays the role of a perfect loser, intentionally losing money while secretly gathering crucial data on all of Salsu's entourage. After carefully collecting all the necessary information, Bae Cub goes to the club as well and manages to get a seat at the same game table. The girl becomes intrigued by Taesok, finding him oddly familiar, but she cannot quite place where she has seen him before. Meanwhile, the carpenter, a jack of all trades, prepares a variety of technical gadgets and new forged identification cards for Trex. so that he can go to the Baduk club legitimately as a business owner. Soon, Trix goes to the club, behaving in an extremely flamboyant and provocative manner. He throws money around recklessly, deliberately losing to everyone, and loudly demands his favorite brand of cigarettes. His provocative behavior quickly draws the attention of Salsu's sidekick, the Gambler. Now Trix, using secret clues provided by Blind Drinking Master, manages to win the game, not only recovering his initial losses, but also taking his opponent's money. To avoid any suspicion, he discreetly removes the earpiece he was using for help and hides it inside a crumpled cigarette pack. Although the angry opponent demands a check for cheating, nothing compromising is found on Trix. The opponent, realizing he is the one that is considered a loser in all aspects, tries to attack Trix once again, but this time he is placed with a good old punch by the Gambler. After that, the Gambler apologizes for the wrong accusations and offers Trix another game. Meanwhile, Blind Master reminds Taesuk and the team of the concept of the Divine Move, a legendary, once-in-a-lifetime strategy that can change everything. Elsewhere, while Taesuk continues to play with Bae Cobb and her associates, suddenly, Salsu himself sits down at their table. Taesuk, remaining calm, pretends not to recognize him. Later, Salsu interrogates Bae Cobb about the new acquaintance, and she assures him that Taesuk is just a common programmer. However, Salsu suspects that Bae Cobb is developing feelings for the guy, and in his rage, tries to beat her. Bae Cobb, however, reminds him of the philosophy of Badok. In the game of life, even the strongest sometimes lose. The next day, Trix invites the Gambler to a private party to have a go game. Before attending, the Gambler inspects the party van carefully, searching for any bugs or hidden devices, but finds nothing. Unbeknownst to him, the surveillance equipment is hidden on the foot of the table. It is placed there by his allies, the Carpenter and the Blind Master, their cunning accomplice. As for Trix, just as the game begins, he commences to distract the player with constant chatter and foolish antics. And at the end of the game, Trix ended up overpowering his opponent with the old man's advice through the communicator in his ear. After that, the Gambler went to Master Wong's office and asked him for his assistance with his next game with Trix. Master Wong always prioritizes his cuts, and this time he asked for 50% of the money that is to be won by the Gambler. During the next game, Trix wins again, which enrages the suspicious player. Even though he has the Master on his ears, the Carpenter and the old Blind Master are pro on meditated moves. Thus, he lost. Meanwhile, the gray-haired Blind Master laughs at the player's frustration. This time, furious at his repeated losses, the Gambler pulls out a knife to stab Trix to death. But at that critical moment, Taesuk bursts into the van, seeking to settle an old score, and soon enough, a violent fight ensues between them. Just then, Master Wong tries to flee the scene, but is soon pursued and caught by the Carpenter and blind old man. Meanwhile, Taesuk subdues the enraged player and locks him inside a large freezing cold room with a combination lock. The rules are simple. Whoever wins a Baduk match gets to live. As the game begins, they take few chances to move the marbles to their favors. But soon enough, the cold becomes unbearable. The freezing temperature drops even further, causing light bulbs to burst. Realizing that the player might survive longer due to his resistance to cold, Taesuk forces him to keep playing the game. However, the desperate Gambler tries to attack Taesuk physically with the dagger. Thankfully, Taesuk manages to defend himself, and he indeed beats him down again, reminding him of his deceased brother. 겨울맞쟁이 알아 죽겠네. Taesuk then leaves the player a leaflet containing a puzzle. If the player solves it, he will find the code to unlock the door and escape this freezing room. Afterward, Taesuk goes to the bar and meets Bae Cobb. He offers her a friendly wager, a game of Baduk where the prize is a granted wish. After winning the match, Taesuk kissed Bae Cobb and she pretty much enjoyed it. Smooth move. Also very against tournament etiquette, the kiss was sweet and tender except for the fact that Bae Cobb still doesn't know the real identity of Taesuk. Meanwhile, Salsu discovers the frozen body of his sidekick the Gambler in the cold room. Taesuk then calls Salsu, boldly challenging him to a game where their lives are the stakes. Adding insult to injury, Taesuk also presents Salsu with the corpse of Salsu's henchman Atari, hidden in the same cold room. Enraged, Salsu storms off to confront the Grandmaster Wong, finding him tied up and helpless in his office. Salsu orders the Grandmaster to play a game against Taesuk. Reluctantly, under threat of death, the Grandmaster accepts. At first, he wins a few moves, but then his luck runs dry. Perhaps Taesuk no longer went easy on him, and he loses the game. Taesuk offers to reveal the names of Salsu's enemies, but only if Salsu agrees to cover the back of the Go board with Master Wong's blood. On cue, the Grandmaster begs for mercy, but Salsu mercilessly cuts out his tongue and splatters his blood on the board. Note to self, never let Salsu host family game night. A hidden message immediately appears, revealing that Salsu's true enemy is much closer than he thought. Looking outside, Salsu spots Taesuk in the distance. Later that evening, Taesuk, the blind old man, the carpenter, and Trix gather for dinner. The blind master recounts how years ago, a mysterious man gave him a blind Badok kid and played with him for an entire year, teaching him invaluable lessons before disappearing. Taesuk suspects that the stranger was his former cellmate, because back in prison, he had noticed the cell walls were transparent. They were playing blind. Salsu meanwhile reviews surveillance footage showing Baekob kissing Taesuk. Infuriated, he orders his minions to bring both Baekob and Trix. Meanwhile, Trix was reading a book on the sofa when the blind master came to him and asked him for a favor. Then, Trix sat him down and willingly cleaned him up, shaved and dressed him. But while they were returning from the mall after the glow-up, Salsu's men circled him. A friend of Trix is the one who ratted them out, and the men in black began chasing Trix and the poor blind intelligent master. Eventually, they are brought to Salsu's sinister mansion. Inside the room, Trix is suspended in a torturous position where only his fingertips touch the ground. Salsu forces Trix to solve the puzzle given earlier by Taesuk to the gambler. Every mistake costs him a broken finger. After several agonizing attempts, Trix finally succeeds, temporarily sparing his life. Who knew mathletes would be a survival skill? Lord Salsu then calls Taesuk, challenging him to one final deadly game. Taesuk accepts. As the final game begins, Salsu plays with Trix, while the old blind master calls the moves and Trix places the stones. Meanwhile, Baekob and her female associate are secretly playing on Salsu's behalf, making the moves through the communicator. Initially, the blind master starts to win. However, the girl makes an ingenious move, turning the tables and causing the blind master to lose. Enraged and expecting of the Lord's mercilessness, the old man tries to stab Salsu, but he is halted on time. Soon enough, Salsu stabs his palm repeatedly, pinning it to the board. He then throws a punch at Trix, to which Trix hadn't had the ability to endure. Shortly after that, Taesuk comes into the hall and witnesses his friend's suffering. Fortunately, Salsu didn't do anything harsh. He lets Taesuk take the old master away, but Trix will be staying here with him. After the furious confrontation, Salsu, still smiling cruelly, promises to let Trix live if Taesuk wins their next game of Go. Outside, the carpenter and Taesuk rush to get the injured blind old master into a car. He begs them not to play anymore against the bandit. Sadly, he dies shortly after. Back inside, Salsu forces Baekob and her little friend to play at full strength, threatening to kill them if they fail. The girl, recalling her discussions with Taesuk, follows secret signals during the match. Meanwhile, Salsu sends his men outside to finish off the carpenter and kill him. When the gang arrives, the carpenter seems calm and prepared to fight them. He fights for as long as he can and kills most of them. He is also injured, but thankfully he has not been outnumbered nor killed. Back at their game, it miraculously ends in a draw, a virtually impossible outcome in Badok. A draw and Go? That's like finding a unicorn at a chess tournament. Salsu, furious, calls for Baekob to be brought to him. Taesuk promises an unprecedented match. But instead, Salsu stabs Baekob and attacks Taesuk. A fierce hand-to-hand battle follows. One by one, Taesuk's friends take down Salsu's underlings. Finally, Taesuk and Salsu are left alone. In a brutal final confrontation, Taesuk wrestles away Salsu's dagger, the same weapon that had killed his old friend and brother. In the end, Taesuk pins Salsu's palm to the board, ending the reign of terror. Exhausted, he slumps against the wall, looking around at the battlefield, where Baekob lies wounded but alive. Sometime later, Taesuk visits the blind master's daughter, handing her a large check left by her father. Then he meets his young nephew, gifts him a new phone, and encourages him to solve puzzles to sharpen his mind. He also visits the carpenter's home, finding him carving a sculpture of the old blind master in honor of his memory. Finally, Taesuk goes to the place where he used to play Baduk with the blind master, pouring a glass of the old man's favorite drink, alcohol, and dropping pebbles into it as a tribute. The real divine move? Remembering your friends. Later, a car pulls up in front of him with Trix at the wheel and Bay Cobb and the girl genius smiling in the backseat. Together, the group drives off toward Busan, hoping to find the mysterious master, who had once changed the course of the blind man's and Tae-suk's lives forever.